When most people finish their workouts, they usually just rack their weights or put away their boxing gloves, then leave the gym and head home. If you're doing this, that's a mistake that could be hurting your recovery and ruining the next task that you do. Let me explain. So when our ancestors were cavemen, if they were just chilling out and then all of a sudden an enemy tribe attacked, their sympathetic nervous system would be activated. Most people know this as fight or flight mode, which is where things happen like hormones like adrenaline get released into their bloodstream or their heart rate increases. Now that's great if you're fighting someone to the death or you're hitting some pads, but there's other things where it's better to have your parasympathetic nervous system activated, which is more commonly known as rest and digest mode. This mode is better to have on when you're spending time with family, friends, or a partner and you want to give them your full attention, or if you want to sit down and read, or like the name says, you want to rest or digest so you could start your recovery process. And this was a problem for me because I would get off Muay Thai practice from 8 to 8:30 and I'd have to be asleep by 10:30, and since I was still in fight or flight mode, I'd have a lot of trouble trying to fall asleep. So a great way to go from your sympathetic nervous system to your parasympathetic nervous system is by doing around a 5-minute cool down after your workouts. But the problem is, most people do it wrong. I work at a gym, and all the time I'll hear people say, yeah, so now I'm just going to cool down by lifting some weights, or yeah, I'm just going to cool down now by hitting the bag. If you're doing something that requires you to have your heart rate high, that's not cooling down, that's just more training. So when you cool down, you want to do something that's super low intensity. A walk is probably the highest intensity thing I do for a cool down. But the main thing I usually do for my cool down is just some form of static stretching. And in my opinion, the easiest and best way to go into rest and digest mode is by long exhales with your eyes closed. You might have heard things like box breathing, where you breathe in for 5 seconds, then you hold it for 5 seconds, then you breathe out for 5 seconds, and then hold it for 5 seconds and repeat the cycle. Or you might have heard things like the 4-7-8 method, where again, breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and then breathe out for 8. I'm sure both of those methods are great, but there's no need to overcomplicate it. The main thing is to do long exhales or exhale longer than you inhale. And of course, there's tons of different ways to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. This is just what I find the easiest, which is doing long exhales with my eyes closed while static stretching. And I do the static stretching part not just to work on my flexibility after my workout, which is also a plus, but the main reason I do it is so that people don't stare. Of course, we shouldn't be self-conscious, but unfortunately I am, so I just feel a little bit nervous just being in the meditation pose in front of the whole gym. And this is just a side note, but being able to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is really just a fancy way of saying to be able to calm yourself down, is a really useful skill to have. This can come in handy whether you're about to give a presentation and you want to calm yourself down a little bit, or you're about to go on the first date and you're feeling a little bit nervous. But like I said, it's very important that you cool down after a workout just so you could start your recovery process or so you could give the next task you're doing your full attention. But if you're new to this channel, my goal is to help martial artists and athletes with their goals, so subscribe if you think this channel could help you. Also, here's another video you might like. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.